Are we wealthy? This is the question we've been getting every single time we walk to the back of our pasture and we share it in a video. And it has actually nothing to do with the property itself. It has everything to do with this gigantic quarter-mile wall. We moved to this property in 2018 and we purchased it 3 years before. Coming here was just this big what if question. We thought, hey, if we moved out of the city, what would our life be like? If we learned all these homestead skills, what would our life be like? So we get out here and this is the part of the property that totally sold us. The front is very wooded, it's dense, it's private, we love that. But when you got out here, it felt like it was like breathing. This property felt probably 3 times bigger than what it feels like now. You can go out to the back and you would see our neighbor's hayfield. It's wide open, there's a grove of oaks there, and it just feels like, you feel like super rich. And then you turn this way and there's a barbed wire fence and we could see into our amazing neighbor's side, Gabe and Angie. They were just so fantastic. They're the kind of neighbors where when you show up at the fence line, they're gonna bring you sweets for your kids. Like, this was the dream. You'd walk out back here and everything just felt wide open, beautiful, inviting.
And then
I was gonna say, and then maybe Bo should take the rest from here and tell you how this wall came to be.
So Gabe and Angie, they got bought out. And doing my best not to talk about bad about someone, but you know, good fences make good neighbors, and evidently for us to be the best neighbors, people that bought this property, they needed to build an 8-foot metal wall. The new owners were here and it was still just the barbed wire fence, and the barbed wire fence is still here. This wall is not actually on our property. The barbed wire fence is right here. It's still here. That's still the property line. This wall is on that side of the property. It's their wall. The people that bought this property, they were really, they should have had 100 acres. That's what I told them one time. They love to do off-road stuff. They love to have those big giant, I called it a buggy. It's basically an off-road car with a cage, and you can flip it. That's the whole fun. It's like going, mudding. It's like going off-roading. The risk is part of the fun, is flipping it. So, new neighbors were here, new owners, Gabe and Angie were gone. We're living our life here on our property. We had 4 kids at the time. The kids run wild and free everywhere. And we started hearing some activity. Usually, I'm just gonna say it, the neighbors actually owned the property over. So they had the property next to Gabe and Angie, and then they bought Gabe and Angie out. So they wanted 2 connecting properties. Makes sense, that's 2 10-acre plots, they wanted 20 acres. So what they were doing is they would be riding these off-road things over on their property. Once they got this one, they had more space and they could go faster because it's there's no house over there. So one day, we're out here playing with the kids, and then we start hearing woom, 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 and we start hearing their buggies come flying. I mean, I'm talking, they're here at this property line, at this barbed wire, maybe 5 feet away from it, and they are flying 50 or 60 miles an hour down this property line, just zooming. Of course, I want to know, hey, what is that noise? And the kids want to see this. It's like going to NASCAR. They wanted to see this really fun thing. It was exciting, and the kids just start running and sprinting towards the property line, the barbed wire fence. I have to get them, whoa, 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 guys, come back. What I had to do while they were running, I had to get the kids to go back to the house go to Kelly and say, Kelly, keep our kids here. I'm gonna go talk to them. So I went and talked to the new neighbors, and I had to wave them down, say, hey, guys, slow down, hold on. So a couple of them stop and they pull at the property line, and I have just a good neighborly chat, not rude or anything, but I said, hey, I just want y'all to know, like, I'm excited that y'all have this new property. I'm excited that you're having a blast. This is fun. We would never tell you guys to what you can and cannot do on your property. This is your property. But, there's a but. I have 4 kids, little kids, and y'all are doing something exciting, and my kids, I'm gonna do my best to keep them away whenever you're hanging out and riding, but I can't keep an eye on them at all times. And this barbed wire fence, this has no strength. This is not gonna keep anything out. And your buggies, you know that they flip. You know that that can be dangerous. You can lose control, and it's not gonna hold you back. And nobody wants to kill a kid. You're not gonna wanna kill a kid and have me own everything that you have ever owned. And I definitely don't want you to kill a kid because it's my kid. So what we can do is I'll do my best to keep my family and my kids 20 feet away from the barbed wire fence. And if you can just honor and drive 20 feet away from the barbed wire fence on your side. And with that, I think it was like, they said, yeah, totally fine, totally good. Ended up finding out that the people that I was talking to was not actually the neighbors that were living on the other property. It was the executive team. It ended up being that the people that owned this property, that bought Gabe and Angie out, was a company. And so this was like a retreat for them. Like, there was managers that work in our small town, and they lived here. And then it was just fun that the executive teams from up in New York would fly down, and they would hang out, and they would see the facility, and they would stay here and just do recreational stuff, shoot guns, drive these buggies. It ended up being about a week later, they started building the giant wall. How do you feel about it?
At the beginning, I felt 50-50. I remember going from like really fantastic neighbors who were like, share your tractor, let's talk about animals, let's be very, what you would call neighborly. Going from that to people who were just driving their dune buggies and like using this property as recreation was just like a stark contrast. The loss was the view. The loss was walking out back here and feeling like your property was even huge, more huge. It was an enormous expanse. Wherever you turn, you see other property. Now it's literally cut off. Like, you cannot see anything beyond this big, gigantic eyesore. And it spans, I don't know, do you think it's a quarter mile?
I've never actually measured it. I can try to,
it spans the entire length of our property.
It does.
And that's a really long way.
From
and
there,
let's be really clear.
all the way down.
Their side does not look like this. We get the ugly side because we didn't pay for it. We weren't consulted anything about it, and people get to do what they want to do on their property. I want to do what I want to do on my property, which is a beautiful thing. But this is an ugly eyesore. It is 8 feet tall. It is so enormous. And then at the same time, as we had watched them create this property into what they wanted as a recreational space, we were like, oh, we've got to put a halt on our pond plans. We had big plans for a pond to go in and even set up like tents, possibly make this a space that we would create into an income property, like a short-term Airbnb. We haven't taken any steps in that direction, but that was like a possibility. As soon as the neighbors went in and it was Dune Buggy City, there was no chance that we were going to be able to do that. I also didn't want anyone seeing my kids at the pond all day long at their own leisure. Like, there was a risk that I just didn't feel when Gabe and Angie were here. Gabe and Angie, if you watch this, God bless ya. But when the wall went up, there was so much more room for activities. There was so much more privacy. It felt like we couldn't have ever afforded this wall. Wow, like this is nothing we ever would have put up because it just wasn't even in the realm of possibility. So in a very significant way, they set up the most optimal neighbor fencing that we could have ever asked for. We couldn't buy this privacy. And within months, we were already at work on this pond. If you've been here for a minute, then you know this pond is the first thing. I'm big on beauty. I'm big on like not missing a moment of how you can appreciate, honestly, just being alive. If you have air in your lungs, you have room for beauty in your life. And I never lived that way until we moved here. Everything was very, very function, and there's probably a whole video to chat through that. But this pond is the very first thing that we put up just for beauty. There's fish in it, yes, but there is recreation here. There is peacefulness here. We've come back here with nature journals and just sat and watched butterflies and noticed the wildflowers from each season to season. And this is something that I never would have put up without the wall. It would have looked very different. It would have been tucked further into the center of the property. It just couldn't have been what it is right now, and I think it's magnificent.
To recap the story, we did not buy this wall. We did not pay for this wall. I mean, we didn't ask for it. We never would have ever thought to even
imagine it. No,
yes.
No.
And it does make us feel like we're living back in suburbia. But we're living back in suburbia with a giant backyard.
I think the question at the very beginning, and this is from a commenter, are we wealthy? I would honestly say yes. Are we wealthy enough financially to build this wall? Absolutely not in a million years.
Good news is that property sold again. And now we have some of our really amazing friends ended up buying it. Like, it went up for the market. It didn't make sense for us to try to bid on it because we have great friends that are gonna be our neighbors now. And Kelly and the mom over there, they're gonna I think they're gonna cut some kind of hole in the wall so that the kids, cause they have 4 kids, and the kids can go through and we can just be amazing neighbors. So this wall that was kind of had some conflict is becoming a huge blessing.
It's a pretty sweet, sweet situation.
Kelly even wants to plant some cool honeysuckle vines and stuff, which we'll show you. We just have to figure out how to propagate those.
I know. I think probably, you said this, the fall is probably better because even now, we can feel the sun coming. It's just gonna have harsh sun all day. So we'll have to find the right plants up there. But I think now that we have amazing neighbors, we've been given the green light to turn this wall into anything that we want. So vining flowers and putting in a door that just gives us a secret little entrance to each other's properties with our kids playing all day long. I think we'll do murals on this wall. It'll be a whole redemptive story to what felt like it was crushing nature and beauty. We're just gonna turn it back to something wonderful.
So I hope you enjoyed this midweek story.
Sunday's coming.
Yeah, we'll have another video coming. It's gonna be our fire roasted sourdough pizza.
It's another recipe video, and it's one that, like the everyday bread, we do this all the time. It's a staple in our home. We cannot live without this. It's part of our weekly rhythm. If we don't go on a Friday night out to the back and make this sourdough pizza, our lives are less. We wither. We're sad humans. So I think you're gonna love it. It's fantastic, and it's really easy to do, especially if you've got a sourdough starter already.
And if you like some of these midweek kind of extra story videos, put down in the comments what you're interested in, ask a question. It would be easy for us to be able to do more simple videos midweek, and we would love to be able to help you and talk about the things that you want us to talk about.
This one we got because we're heck yeah, look behind us. We live in the woods.
Yep.
So we have unlimited fuel for this pizza oven. It's so good.